right?
Yes,
Correct.
correct.
Yes. See, and he's so excited to be here with us today, right?
I am.
Okay, well, very good. I think he's fibbing, but no, you're happy to be here.
I am.
Yes, of course. So you were telling me off the air that you are a fellow Appalachian.
Yeah, so I grew up in Meigs County, went to Meigs High School.
Very good. And so you kind of understand how we hillbillies work around here, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that kind of helps me connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what you do at Holzer, and then we'll get back to kind of talking about you in general.
Sure. So primarily I practice family practice, and then I also do wound care as well.
Okay, so wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so it's helps me be kind of like a jack of all trades.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us, like when, so you went to Meg's high school?
Yes.
Okay, and how, then what did you do from there? How did you end up here?
Okay. So after high school, I went to Hocking College, got a degree in nursing. I worked as a nurse through undergraduate at Ohio University, and then
Okay.
through also my first year of medical school. Then I went to medical school at Ohio University, and then during my third and fourth year of medical school, started on at Holzer, and I've been at Holzer for the last 5 years. And this is my first year as an attending physician.
Aha. And yeah, so you were telling me off the air like some of the steps that are required, but I don't know that I've ever heard, and I know that this is a thing, but so you went to nursing school first.
I did.
Is that a normal path or was it like, "Oh, I thought I wanted to be a nurse, but then I wanted to be a doctor." How did you end up from one to the other?
No, so it'd be considered a non-traditional path. When I was in high school, I shot on the archery team. I ended up getting a scholarship to Hocking, and so instead of not
Oh.
using a scholarship, I just decided to take a little bit of a longer route. I got my
You went
RN. I
around
did.
the block, yeah.
I did. I got my RN, but then he ended up being a really good opportunity, a really good choice, just because it allows me to connect with the staff a lot more. Understanding the nurse's scope a lot better, and so
Yeah.
overall, it's been a good experience.
Okay, okay, so I gotta learn about this archery thing because the Olympics just happened,
Right.
right? And so I was, you get fascinated by watching these things that you don't normally watch on the daily. So archery, like, so is that like bow and arrow kind of thing?
Yes.
How on earth did you get into that?
So grew up hunting, and then when I was a sophomore in high school, they started the NAS program, which is the National Archery in Schools program. So I did
Oh,
that, and then my junior and senior year, I actually won the state tournament 2 years in a row.
oh
And
my
then
gosh.
the second time, I ended up they one of the prizes was a scholarship to Hocking.
That is so cool. I mean, you're a doctor and stuff, but that's really cool too.
Yeah.
So, how did you like learn? How do you get to be a state champion in archery? It's not like something that you hear about every day.
No, it's just like anything else. The more you practice, the more proficient you are at it.
Did you have like a parent or something that taught you, or did you just it was just like something that came to you and you were like, I'm just gonna keep doing this till I'm the state champion?
No, no, I grew up shooting bows with my dad,
Oh,
so
you did?
I did.
So, I know that, like, with the Hunger Games, I think that kind of
Mhm.
brought archery into the forefront. So, did that kind of spur you, or was it just more
No,
of, like, a family thing
no, I think the Hunger Games probably came out after.
after you?
Yeah, after I shot. Yeah.
Just saying. Very cool. No, so what do you have to do, we'll get to the doctor stuff here in a minute, but
Okay.
we got lots of time to talk. So, what, so when you compete in archery, what do you have to do? I'm curious.
So for the school program archery, you have two different distances. One's 10 meters, one's 15 meters, and you have 15 arrows at each distance. You shoot them
Okay.
in sets of five, so three sets of five at each distance.
And then do you have to like is it like who hits the bullseye or is it like is it like darts where you have to hit like a certain
No,
number?
it's the bullseye. So then,
Okay.
the concentric rings, they slowly get more points as you get towards the middle, and the bullseye's worth 10 points.
Cool. Well, I think that they should have, state axe throwing because I'd be good at that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I had fun. I've
Yeah.
only been doing it once, but Yeah. It was fun. It's
Yeah,
good stress relief.
it is. We've done that and enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not exactly sure why beer drinking is encouraged while axe throwing, but everywhere that I've ever seen, they're like, BYOB. I'm like, awesome. Okay, that sounds like a horrible idea.
Right.
But yeah. But anywho, that's neither here nor there. Well, congratulations on the archery thing.
Thank you.
So do you still participate? You
Uh,
still go out and do things?
I shoot a little bit, but with residency, that kind of cut into my time a lot.
Yeah, gotta keep your hands in good shape too.
Yeah,
Is it really hard on your hard on your body? I would think.
not necessarily. Once you shoot enough, you get in shape. You know, the muscles you get to where you're able to do it without much strain.
Okay, I gotcha. Very cool. Will you teach me?
Sure.
Okay, to date. I got it. All right. Well, very, very cool. So you ended up in a non-traditional route, and this fascinates me a little bit because there there's the nursing profession and then there's the doctor physician profession, and you did a little bit of both, and I'm curious, and I know you touched on it just a hair, but how did one help you with the other probably some empathy along the way.
Yeah, empathy.
Okay.
The other thing too is just understanding the scope of practice. Knowing what the nurses can and can't do, and then also just having a bit of an insight into their training and kind of their thought processes when it comes to patient care.
Because I don't think that, as you said, it's kind of a traditional route. So I would think doctors and nurses sometimes don't understand what the other has to go through.
Yeah, I think a lot of times doctors don't necessarily understand the nurses, their scope of practice, and their level of training, or how they come to look at a problem when they look for a solution to it.
So how much do doctors, what is the difference? How much does the doctor rely on the nurse and vice versa? How does that whole thing work?
So you definitely couldn't do one without the other, either way around.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Like you think about that.
Yeah, the doctor side focuses more on the diagnosis and then the plan of treatment,
Okay.
whereas the nurses are focused more on implementing the plan. And then also, I mean, they spend the most time with the patient, so they're the ones
Mhm.
that really have a good pulse on the patient as far as their conditions changing, uh, and whether the treatment's working or not.
I mean, as somebody that's obviously, I mean, I would hope that most of us have gone and sought some medical care at some point. But yeah, your nurse is the first person that you see to talk to, and they say,
Hmm.
"What's going on?" And then you spill your guts to them,
Yeah,
and then they pass it along, right?
yeah. So we always say, if you get as a resident, it's kind of a saying, like if you get in a situation where you don't know what to do, you don't find another doctor, you find like the oldest nurse, the oldest, most
Yeah.
experienced nurse, and they're generally going to have the right answer.
She's gonna say, "Honey, let me just tell
Yeah,
you about
and
that."
it's surprising how often that's true.
I can imagine that is. They've been there and seen it all
Yes.
along the way. Absolutely. So you get into nursing, and then so you did nursing. Which did you like better, or is it just different?
It's different. They're both enjoyable.
Huh?
The nursing side is probably more of a combination of the physical and the mental side of medicine,
Okay.
just because there's more of the physical aspect to it, and then being a physician is definitely more of the mental side, just because it's as you get on, there's more responsibility added onto you.
Okay. No, that makes total sense. The nurses are the ones that give hugs and are like the nurturers, right?
Right.
So, okay, so tell me when you went to Hawking, you started nursing, and then, or you did the nursing thing, then how did you end up, like, what were the steps involved in going, and did some of your nursing things like transfer over, or how did that work?
They did a little. It was a little complicated just because when I was in nursing school, college was still on quarters. And then when I started at OU is
Oh,
when everything switched to semesters. And
gotcha.
so it was more of a timing thing, but there were classes that transferred over.
Okay. Yeah, that would be stinky if it didn't.
Yeah, it was a unique time. Just the everyone was transitioning from quarters to semesters.
I gotcha. So when so you ended up so you go to OU and I guess I didn't realize they have a medical school.
Yeah, OU. So it's part of Ohio University, but it's also a separate college. So it's really Ohio University Heritage College of Osteopathic Medicine, or OU
Okay.
HCOM. And they just recently built a new med school over the past few years. And so now it's on State Street.
Awesome. So did you have the full OU experience?
So I actually commuted. I commuted, but yeah, I
Probably
spent,
smart.
yeah. But between undergraduate and medical school, I had 7 years at OU.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, so you had to go through medical school, and then when did your involvement with Holzer start, and at what point in your career, I guess?
So when you do medical school is 4 years long, and your first 2 years of medical school you spend actually at the medical school, just like you would for any college.
Okay.
Your last 2 years of medical school are actually spent in a hospital setting. So you're not in class anymore. You're on rotations in different specialties. And so for my
Okay.
third and fourth year of medical school, I got partnered up with Holzer. And so I actually started with Holzer as a third year medical student.
Oh, that's awesome. So then, I mean, do you get to kind of choose, or are you assigned a place, or how does that work?
There's a list of hospitals that are affiliated with the medical schools,
Okay.
and we rank them. And then there's a algorithm that tries to match as many people with their top choices. And I got
Okay.
matched with Holder.
Well, very good. So when you go in, I mean, I obviously being a doctor, it's hands-on learning, a lot of it, as you do 2 years of classroom and then start into the actual setting there. So then what do you do? How does that work? I assume you're under somebody.
Yeah, so typically the way it goes is every month you'll be on a different service, whether that be family practice, general surgery, whatever specialty. And for that month, you're with the attending physicians and you work under them. And
Okay.
they teach you about the specialty and just about medicine in general.
Okay. And then, so did you know, like, I want to do family practice, or I want to do a specialty, or how did you end up in family practice and then doing wound care as well?
So when you start off, really what you think about is what you want your work-life balance to be.
Okay.
And for me, being home was important. I didn't want didn't want to have to work on the weekends or holidays. And so that narrowed down to more of a medicine side versus a surgical side. Whereas family medicine allows me to do a little bit of everything.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I enjoy. I enjoy all aspects of medicine. So family medicine allows me to have the broadest scope.
Okay.
And then wound care is something that I did during medical school and residency and just really found that I had a passion for it. And so when I finished, I knew I wanted to incorporate wound care into my practice.
Well, that makes total sense. So you can be a little bit of everything to everybody, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about where exactly you are working. Are you accepting new patients? What all services you provide at Holzer?
Sure. So my family practice clinic is at the Jackson Clinic on Pattinsville Road,
The one up on the hill.
up on the hill.
Yeah.
And I see patients on Monday through Thursday morning. And then Thursday afternoons, currently I'm in wound care over at the hospital.
Okay. You work with my good friend Hannah?
I do. Yeah.
Don't ask her anything about me. she and I have a lot of dirt
Oh, yeah?
on each other, probably. So don't ask.
Okay.
No, we went to school together. We graduated together. And she's wonderful.
She is.
She's perfect. Okay, so if somebody wants to, family practice, do you see kids? Do you see adults? Do you see a little bit of everybody? How do people get to you?
Yeah, so family practice, I'm allowed to see birth through death. So any age I can see as
Okay.
family practice, and I do see all ages. So pediatrics all the way up through, the elderly, geriatrics.
Do you have a favorite group of people?
No, I find that the best combination is when you have a wide variety in your day.
Yeah.
It really helps to break up the day. And so that's my ideal schedule, would be to have a mix of everything in one day.
Yeah, some little kids and some adults as well. And
Yeah, I
how
also do
fun.
a lot of family medicine, so I'll have, spouses and wives come in, or even, families and their kids, and just see them all together. So I enjoy that aspect too, just seeing everyone together.
Very cool. So with Holzer Family Medicine, I think it's so cool that you all have, for example, I have my family doctor, but you wake up in the morning and there's something wrong and perhaps she couldn't get me in. It's really cool that you can call and they can be like, okay, well you can see someone else today because there's several of you and you all are accepting patients, which is very, very neat.
Yeah, and that's also the benefit of the residency clinic is the residency clinic allows for a lot more openings. So if you have an acute need, generally you can get in to be seen, that day or at least the next day.
Yeah, we don't like, none of us, I think, wake up and schedule to be sick or
Right.
have poison ivy, Amy, or something of that nature. Listen, I got the chiggers, bites. We're not going to discuss, and yeah, non-mentionable places. Yeah, I think they're worse. They're horrible. They're the devil. You have any advice for chigger bites?
So always grew up, it was a clear nail polish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure why that's a thing, but that's what I've always been told.
Well, so they burrow underneath the skin and the nail polish suffocates them.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yep. There's not enough clear nail polish in the world for this girl. That's a whole other story. And I have no idea where they came from either, so that's frustrating. But no, so if somebody wants you to be their kind of primary physician, is that possible?
Yes. So I have openings. I'm still accepting new patients.
Okay.
To get a hold of us, you can call 1-855-4-HOLZER, or you can go to www.holzer.org/appointment.
That's right. And Holzer, if you don't know, Holzer has a really, really good website now. You can schedule appointments online. You can schedule virtual appointments. You can pay your bills. You can do all kind of. You can find out about all the physicians and different specialties and all kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Really good
absolutely.
website.
Yep, they have a really great website.
Absolutely. Did you do that one?
The website?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
I'm on
you?
the website.
Did you make it?
I did not make it.
Oh, me
It
either.
would not look near as good if I made it.
Right, exactly. We'll keep you to healing people.
There
How's
we go.
that?
I'll take that.
Very good. All right. So let's talk about because you were talking about residency and that kind of thing. What are the steps of that? How does that work?
So in your fourth year of medical school, you apply to residency, and it's based on what type of physician you want to be. And so residency, depending on your specialty, can be anywhere from 3 to 7 years. So family
Okay.
practice is a 3-year residency, all the way up to like neurosurgery would be a 7-year residency.
I would hope so.
Yes,
That seems very complicated.
it is. And
Although
then,
family practice is very complicated as well because you have to know everything about
yeah,
everything.
it's definitely a broad scope.
Yeah.
And then after you finish residency, you can actually choose to do a fellowship, which is additional training. So someone like,
Oh,
interventional cardiologists, for instance, they do 4 years of internal med, then they do a cardiology fellowship, then they do an additional fellowship in interventional cardiology. So they have quite a bit of schooling by the time they come out.
it sounds like it. Yes. And expense too, right?
Yes.
All of that. Did you know you want to be a doctor all your life or in the medical profession?
Yeah, I really think that's the only job I ever said I was going to be growing up
Really?
was a doctor.
That's awesome. Good for you. Okay, so let's go over to the wound care side if you don't mind.
Sure.
And talk about and the girls were in not too long ago from wound care and we talked about kind of touched on some of the things but wound care is very my gosh it's kind of broad but there you treat a lot of different people for
Mhm.
different reasons. So could you kind of just give us the scope of who all you treat and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so primarily our patients are people with diabetes, people with vascular disease, also people with immobility issues. And those are just people that are prone to more of the wounds that we treat a lot. So diabetic foot ulcers, pressure wounds,
Okay.
also vascular ulcers, so venous ulcers and arterial ulcers. So people with generally with comorbidities.
The
Um,
what?
Comorbidities, so a lot of medical conditions.
Okay.
And then also we have a fair share of just, incidental. So people will get burned, they'll get cut,
Okay.
it's just not healing, and those will come to wound care.
Okay. Chigger bites.
Chigger bites, we haven't had any of
Have you
those
had a
come to wound.
chigger bite? Come to wound
We
care.
have not had a
I'm
chigger bite
about
come to wound
fixing to
care.
come see you.
Yeah.
No, I was talking to the girls at the restaurant the other day. They're like, "Call Hannah." I'm like, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's just me whining about chigger bites. If your chigger bites get to the point where you need wound care, there's probably something else going on.
Absolutely.
We don't, other than them just being really annoying. Okay, so let's talk about some of the methods in which you all can help people with their wounds. Because I know you have like the oxygen chamber and
Mhm.
some of the other things. We talk about Manuka honey and some of the other different ways to treat. So,
Yeah, so what they've found is generally that people who are get their wounds debrided or we take off the dead tissue, they heal faster. And so with wound care, you're actually seen once a week to get debrided. And
which
then
kind of goes against normal human, like you're going to kind of almost create a wound to have the wound heal.
yeah, exactly. And what they've just as we've had more studies on wounds, they've found that the debridement actually helps increase the heal time,
Okay.
increase the heal rate of them. And so when you come in, you can get debrided. So we'll take scalpels and numb you up a little bit with some cream,
That's
take the
good.
dead tissue off the
That's
wounds,
nice.
and then we have a lot of specialized wound dressings that we're able to use. And so that's another benefit of wound care. And then also, we have
You mean like more than Neosporin and a Band-Aid?
more than Neosporin and a Band-Aid.
Okay, good.
And then wound care is also able to do skin grafts, so we can get like
Oh.
cadaver skin if you qualify, and then also the hyperbaric oxygen.
And yeah, that fascinates me. So tell everybody about that and how that works.
The hyperbaric oxygen,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So hyperbaric oxygen, it's a uh, device that you go in a tube. All right, it's pretty big though, and it's clear.
It's not like an MRI.
No, it's not. So if you're
Don't
claustrophobic,
freak out.
people tend to still do pretty well.
Yeah.
But it's a chamber. It has clear sides, and what we do is we increase the pressure. And so what it does is it simulates someone diving, so diving underwater. And so as you
Okay.
get down deeper, the pressure increases, and when you add oxygen, the pressure increases the oxygen delivery to the tissue.
Okay. And what does that do?
So what that does is it does several things. It can help new blood growth, so new blood vessel growth. It can actually help kill bacteria, uh,
Oh,
and it also can help with just generalized wound healing. So it allows the natural body's processes for wound function to work better.
okay. And because we kind of need oxygen to live, right?
Right.
It's kind of important.
It's important.
So if you're really pumping it in there, it's helping your body, is what?
Correct.
Yeah,
And it just increases your body's ability to use oxygen.
that makes sense. Okay. And is that done in Jackson or?
Yeah, so we do it at both wound care centers. So we have the wound care center at the Jackson Hospital, and then we also have the wound care center in Gallipolis down by
Okay.
the main hospital. And so that we have 2 hyperbaric chambers at each location.
Okay. Do you ever just get in there for fun?
No, I've actually never been in it.
I feel like that should be like, hey, let's have a party in the oxygen chamber. All
Yeah.
right. No, I would think they would stick you in there just so you'd know what patients were feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
Just think how like good you would feel when you came out of that.
Yeah, has a lot of benefits.
Is it kind of like when you go to Key West and the hangover IV guy shows up at the hospital and pumps you full of all kind of good stuff?
I haven't
Do you
seen
know that's a
that.
thing? I was like, what? Doctor Hangover or whatever.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard of that.
Oh yeah, it was all over when last time I was in Key West. There's flyers everywhere.
Hmm.
They show up at your hotel and pump you full of things to help you.
Well,
But
there you go.
that's neither here nor there when it comes to oxygen. I don't know. They may pump you full of oxygen too. Who knows? Or more vodka. I don't know. Make you feel better. Okay. So, and then in the wound care, so you have the oxygen chamber, which I would think, I mean, is that kind of like an extreme? Is that for people with extreme wounds or?
No, so there's just certain wounds that will qualify.
Oh, what would
So
those be?
non-healing diabetic foot ulcers, If you have chronic osteomyelitis, which is a bone infection, you can also have, if you have injuries from radiation for cancers,
Okay.
for certain brain infections.
Oh.
And there's also, you hear about people that get the bends. There's so people that dive and then they come up too quickly and then they get nitrogen bubbles in their lungs. Not so much in this area, but around the
We're not really scuba diving out at the
the
Lake Elma.
where there's a lot more scuba divers,
Yeah.
that's another indication for hyperbaric. And there's a list of others.
Okay. Very good. And when you go through that process, about how long does it take, or how long are you in the 2B thing?
So generally, you're in the chamber for 90 minutes
Okay.
a time, and then the recommendation is to do it 5 days a week,
Oh,
and
wow.
generally it's for about 40 treatments. Is usually what insurance will cover at first.
Okay. That would be great. You'd have to relax.
Yeah, the difficult thing is just making the commitment to come 5 days a week,
Yeah.
and so that is a difficulty for patients. But if you
A lot of
are able
people.
to make that commitment, it does show in terms of the healing rate of your wounds.
Okay. Yeah, and the diabetic thing, I guess, is probably, is that the most, you know, is that the ailment, I guess, would be the word, or I don't know, that most people would come in with, or
Yeah, I would say that's a majority.
okay. And okay. Well, very, very cool. And so wound care. So if somebody needs, how do you know if you need to go to wound care? Do you come see you first in the, as a family practitioner, and then go, or how do you end up?
So there's a good combination of both. You can either do self referral, so people who have been at wound care before, a lot of times they can do a self referral,
Okay.
or really any practitioner can refer someone to wound care.
Okay.
But I would say in general, diabetics, I try to tell them as soon as you get a wound, I
Come
would
see
just
me.
come to wound care.
Yeah.
Coming earlier is definitely better than waiting.
I know, but human beings tend to wait.
We do, and that just ends up being a longer time that it takes for us to heal the wounds
Yeah.
versus coming in early when the wounds first start. They're generally a lot easier to manage.
Okay. Very good. So don't wait. Call.
That's right. And then also for diabetics, it's important to do the diabetic foot checks. So the recommendation for
Okay.
diabetics is to check your feet every day, whether it's when you get out of the shower. A lot of people have trouble bending down, so I recommend just getting like a cosmetic mirror. You can lie it on the floor
Okay.
and then put your foot over it, hover it over it. Or if you have a significant other that can look at your feet, but they should be doing feet checks daily.
Okay, and that is a really good point, because a lot of folks, from what I understand, with diabetes, you get the, what's it called, neuropathy,
Yeah, diabetic
and
neuropathy.
you can't feel
Correct.
very well. So, I mean, there's been horror stories of people step on nails and everything else. They have no idea that they did.
Yeah, and that happens more than what people would probably think.
Yeah. So, I guess a hint too, if you are diabetic and are suffering from that, is make sure that there's not anything wild on your floors
Yeah,
to step on, or make sure you're always wearing shoes.
well, that would be the recommendation.
Okay.
So, yeah, people, diabetics, especially those with neuropathy, the recommendation would be just to wear shoes at all times. And then also, it's a good habit to kind of, dump your shoe out before you put it on just to make sure there's not anything in it. There's quite a few times that we've taken shoes off and there's been rocks and stuff in their shoe that they didn't know was there.
Okay. And like, for somebody that doesn't suffer from that, you can't fathom that you can't feel your feet.
Right. Yeah, it would be hard to imagine not being able to feel a rock in your shoe, but it certainly happens.
And then of course that rock, if you can't feel it, is rubbing and doing bad rock things.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy to develop a foot wound.
Okay. Yeah, we had a guest in here a while back, and she's diabetic, and she had a boot on, and I said, "Oh gosh, or what's going on?" And she said that she was diabetic, she has neuropathy, and um, her feet had really been bothering her. So someone got her one of those foot spa bath things,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't realize that it got hot. And so it burnt the bottom of her foot, and she didn't know it was burning the bottom of her foot.
Sure.
So therefore, she was having a really hard time with it. And I was like, I didn't know those things got that hot. So, it's just like kind of wild stuff that you wouldn't think of in a million years, but
Sure.
if you're suffering from it, you just got to be extra careful, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, what else would you like to talk about today? What else do you get into on the
S-
daily?
Well, in terms of family practice, some of the services I provide in terms of procedures, I do pap smears, I do skin cancer excisions, so basal cell, squamous cell, skin
Okay.
cancer excisions. I also do cryotherapy, so use liquid nitrogen for smaller skin lesions, and
Okay.
then also mole and skin tag removal. I do joint injections, and then I also do osteopathic manipulative medicine, which is kind of the difference between the DO and MD side of medicine.
Okay, talk about that for a moment then.
So when you have a physician, they're either a DO or an MD in
Okay.
terms of outside of podiatry and that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
DO and MD, and the DO side stands for Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. And so in medical school, we have extra time spent in the anatomy lab, learning the muscles of the body, and then also we have osteopathic manipulative medicine. And so what that allows us to do is use our hands to help restore the body's function. And so people who have tight muscles, we learn how to use different techniques to relax those muscles and basically just restore the body back to how it naturally should be.
Okay. That makes sense. So, what would be some instances of people that would come see you for that?
So a lot of my OMT or OMM is spent with headaches. So
Aha.
headaches is something that I'm able to treat, and a lot of times it comes from tight neck muscles. And so working on those neck muscles, trying to relax them, has really helped. Also with back pain, shoulder pain, actually even menstrual cramps, you can use OMT on. It's
Okay.
also very helpful for pregnant women. As they get further along in pregnancy, they have a lot more aches and pains, and OMM is something that is safe and can be beneficial for them. And it really helps limit the amount of medication that you have to use on someone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I was sitting here thinking. Anything that you can do to avoid taking a pill for it would be a good thing, right?
Yeah, and generally, if it's an acute issue, OMM can actually, in some cases, work faster than medications.
Okay. Very cool. So, if someone wants to come see you, you are still accepting patients.
Yes, still accepting new patients.
All right. And you are at the Jackson Clinic location. Well, it's not that anymore. Forgive me. I'm
We're
old. We call it the clinic. The one up on the hill.
Yep, the one up on the hill. So the Jackson Clinic on Pattonsville.
About how many family practitioners are up there now?
Well, if you count the residents, we have one, two, there's 5 or 6
Okay.
family practice, and then we have a couple internal med.
Okay. And the thing is, and that's what makes it so great, as I said earlier, is, if you have your family doctor and you wake up with poison ivy, Amy, or huh?
I was weed eating.
Weeding. Okay, you earned it.
I earned it. My muscles feel like I earned it.
Yeah, you're feeling it. Or, God forbid today you wake up sick and it's like, is it COVID? Is it the flu? Do I have a cold? Like, do old fashioned colds still exist? Like, it's how do you know anymore whether to go to the doctor or not?
Yeah, I mean, so you kind of have to know yourself as well. But generally, if you're having symptoms that you think warrant coming to the doctor, then on the clinic we can get people in usually the same day to see at least one of our physicians.
Which is cool. And that was kind of my point, is that even if you can't get in to see your perhaps normal doctor, you can see somebody.
Correct.
Yeah. And then the urgent care is there too, just in case
Yeah, absolutely.
as well. If you have issues like that. So yeah, I don't know. Like, but when do you know? I mean, other than you said you know yourself, I guess, like um it's just so hard in today's world to know whether what warrants coming to the doctor and what doesn't, because I think most people are like, well, they're just going to send me home and tell me to
Hmm.
rest and whatever anyway, so why bother? But
Hmm.
I would think, like, if you have like maybe a fever or something of that nature, respiratory issues perhaps.
So in general, most of the respiratory syndromes that we get are viral in origin, and so those typically you're looking at like a 7-day course
Okay.
on average. And if you're having a fever, just having body aches, just general symptoms, then usually those can be managed at home just with over the counters, Tylenol,
Okay.
ibuprofen, things like that. But if you start feeling like you're going out past that 7 day mark, it's going on to that 7, 10, 2 week mark, then that can be a reason to come in to be seen. Also, if you have, high fevers, if it's a fever, technically isn't until you get to 100.4. So if you're having low grade fevers, it's generally not something concerning.
Okay.
But if you're someone that has respiratory issues, asthma, COPD, that may be a reason just to come in to be seen,
Okay.
just because you're
Just in
more at
case.
risk of having severe disease. And then also if you have anything that's kind of out of the what you would consider ordinary for your typical how you feel when you get sick.
Okay. Yeah, and it's funny because even like as we all survived, hopefully, this COVID debacle that I call
Hmm.
the big C word. Um you talk to a million different people and they're like, "Yeah, I had it and this is how I felt and I had it and this is how I felt."
Hmm.
And everybody was different. So I think everybody just reacts different to different illnesses.
Yeah, and it just depends, on what your pre-existing medical conditions are. And then also just with COVID, we saw that sometimes people randomly just got more sick than others.
Yeah.
And so you really just have to listen to your body. And I think in general people they kind of know when they need to be seen.
Okay. If it's in your gut that you probably need to go, you should probably go.
Yeah.
I remember, I think the sickest I've ever been, I had the flu. Well, it was years ago now. And by the time I got to the clinic, as the doctor said, "Congratulations, you have the flu." But my temperature was 103 point something. And I was like, someone shoot me.
Right.
That was not fun. Like, I literally couldn't speak. I was like, I could hardly walk. It was horrible. Don't do that. Like, go before it gets to that point.
Yeah, fevers are for sure something that can make you feel pretty crummy,
Yeah.
especially when they get on the higher side.
I don't want any part of that ever again. I can go through COVID, I can go through all that stuff, but that flu fever ache thing was not good.
Right.
Which brings me to my next point. Let's talk about flu shots and COVID vaccines and all of that. Where are we at with that whole situation?
So the flu shots we typically don't get in until mid to late September.
Okay, so it's around the corner though.
Yeah, they're coming up, and so when those come in, we do recommend that people get their annual flu shot. With the COVID vaccines, uh, we still are recommending them, especially people with the comorbidities, so asthma, COPD, tend to have respiratory issues.
Okay.
But the flu shot is an every year recommendation for us.
Okay. And the flu shot and the COVID are not combined, right?
No,
Like, okay. Do you think they will be someday? Will it be
I
a
think
thing?
it's going to depend just because the flu vaccine changes every year depending on what variants are more common.
Okay.
And so that's why the flu shot is a once a year thing, is because it's different each year.
Okay. And then COVID, are they seeing a lot of different variations still of it, or is it kind of chilled out, or I don't even know. You don't hear about it anymore, so
Yeah, well, I mean, we're starting to see an increase in COVID right now. And
okay.
so every time that COVID pops up, it tends to be, a different variant. And so right
Okay.
now we're seeing an increased number of positive testing for COVID at Holzer.
So do we need to, is that something that we should be concerned about as, regular normal people going to the grocery store and all of that? What should we be doing?
I mean, the biggest thing in general is just being safe practices, right? Washing our hands, cleaning off the cart handles. If you're sick, wear a mask. If you know somebody's sick, stay away from them.
Okay.
Just the general things that you normally would do when people are sick.
The things that none of us did before COVID happened that we should all be
Yeah.
doing to begin with.
Yeah. I think, when people are sick, just wearing a mask just to keep those secretions down. In
Okay.
general, I mean, that's just the small stuff like that that really makes a big difference. Hand washing, probably the number one.
we we were laughing at the tap room the other day about that in the kitchen. We were like, why did it take a global pandemic for us, for not us, but for people to learn how to wash their hands properly?
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't you have learned that in preschool? Like, why is that a thing? Nobody knew how to wash their hands properly. All right. Well, very good. So, okay. Call 1-855 Holzer to see Dr. Jacob Riffle, and he is precious, as you can tell. So come see him, and he's a local guy.
Yep. Thank you. I'd be
Yeah.
happy to have you guys.
Very good. And come see them. And then the wound care center as well, which is located over at the hospital setting
Yes,
or on Burlington Road. Um, if you think something's getting a little bit out of hand, please call sooner than later about that because it's a lot easier to treat before it gets way out of hand.
yeah. In general, the easiest thing would be to just get a hold of their primary care physician to get referred, or if they want to find the wound care number, they can self refer.
Okay. Very cool. And I can promise you, I know the ladies that work over there and dudes, and they are amazing. Amazing people at what they do.
They are really good staff there.
It is. It absolutely is. All right. Well, Dr. Jacob, we will let you get out of here as Pete Wilson just walked through the door and we're going to talk all things news.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Well, come back and see us anytime, and we can talk about archery and medical stuff and all kind of fun things.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Dylan, you have a message from our friends at Vinton County Bank, and then we'll be back in just a second.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
All right, and looking at the weather forecast for today, it is going to be absolutely lovely today. And I just don't know that sunshine and 75 it gets any better than that, Pete. What do you think? I just love that forecast.
These are the days that you'd like to blueprint and just have
Just
more
can we
often.
just do this every
Yeah,
day?
there's a few periods, Indian summer or whatever, kind of, and you're kind of sad about that because it's not going to last,
I
and
know, I
what's
know.
coming right behind it, but. It's going to get, from what I see, hot again, but we're okay
So
for several days. So
yes,
enjoy.
that's
Enjoy
right.
today. That's what you have for sure.
Exactly, and these temperatures are going to last for a couple of days, and then by the weekend we are going to get right back up into the 90s. So, just forewarning you.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Okay. Well, we talked about this yesterday, and it actually happened. Our Jeremiah Shaver was on the scene at Oak Hill Elementary School when they did the ribbon cutting for the new playground. And Dylan, I didn't have a chance to check with you. Did he send a photo or a video with that? Because if so, we'll show them.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, we will have coverage of that. I know we have something posted on the Telegram Facebook page
Okay.
from their ribbon cutting, and it was a very nice turnout. There were some kids there to actually try out the playground equipment. They
Love that.
obviously it was appropriate.
Did you?
No, I did not.
I want to see Pete Wilson on the playground.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, it is a really highfalutin playground. There's actually two parts to it, in front of the school and in back of the school, and it's kind of age-appropriate playground equipment. And so, you've got areas that are more suited for the older kids at the elementary school, and some that are suited for the very young at the
Okay.
elementary school. So, that's
Fun.
it was a long time coming. But the best thing about it, it is here now. It is here for the start of the school year, which, by the way, for Oak Hill Elementary and Oak Hill High School Middle School is tomorrow. That is their first day of school.
Ooh, kids.
So that will greet them. That will greet the elementary kids when it's playground time.
Is it are those playgrounds kind of open to the public when school's not in session, or do you know?
Oh, yes, I think they are.
Okay.
They have fencing there and whatever. I'm not sure that it's ever closed off. I think that once again, you're asking me a question. I don't know for sure, but I don't believe that they would close that
Okay.
off to the public even during the off hours because they want to share that with the public.
Sure.
I found it.
Oh, you found it.
Oh, we got it. Okay. Picture, is that what it is, Dylan?
It's a video.
Oh, it's a video. Okay, well, here it is. This is the video that took place at Oak Hill Elementary School yesterday at 4:00.
Very cool.
Big red ribbon that they're going to cut there. I'm sure Principal Rebecca Potter is front and center there. Assistant Principal Morgan Newsom also
Mhm.
there. I see off to the left, as you look at the photo, Superintendent Jason Mantell there as well in the black coat,
How exciting for them.
red and white balloons, and you see some of the playground equipment behind there. And as we said yesterday, Jennifer, also out there is what they call an outdoor education classroom, which
Mhm.
is, in fact, a big shelter house. But obviously, lots of room for an entire class or maybe more to be seated outside. And if the weather holds up the way it is, I'm not exactly sure what classroom situations where they would use this facility, but they have it, and
Okay.
it's very nice.
Very cool.
So we will be covering that in our next edition of the paper. And as I said, you saw a little clip there of video. I believe that should be on the Telegram's Facebook page. All right. Labor Day is kind of looked upon as the unofficial start to political campaigns that go into the November election.
You mean political silly season?
Yeah,
That's never ended this time,
no,
but
we've heard that phrase. But this is an even-numbered year and a presidential year, so
Yes.
we're getting lots of attention on the television. But there's also statewide races involved, local races, levies. We're going to be telling you all about that on our media platforms. But one thing that happened yesterday that we want to tell you about, we had a Supreme Court judge candidate, Ohio Supreme Court judge candidate in Jackson.
oh, okay.
And, whenever these state level
Interesting.
candidates make appearances locally, we're going to try to cover them. We give them credit for coming here and telling us why they want to be elected, what they would do if they were elected, and caring enough to come, to lightly populated southeastern
Sure.
Ohio. But the candidate who came yesterday was Megan Shanahan. Perhaps you haven't heard her name, but you probably will be. As a candidate for the Ohio Supreme Court, she's running statewide. She is currently one of the common pleas judges in Hamilton County. This event was at the Office Commons. It was a campaign fundraiser. So I'm sure she raised some money for her statewide campaign. And she also was there personally to speak with and meet with some local supporters as well. And the Ohio Supreme Court race, a lot of times people who are not real politically involved one way or the other, they'll vote for president or governor or county commissioner or mayor, but they come to the Ohio Supreme Court and they're unfamiliar with the
Sure.
candidates and some of the issues,
Right.
and they don't know what to do. They might vote automatically R or D or what somebody tells them to.
Are those partisan?
They are.
Races,
This is
okay.
not the first year that's happened, but in the past, it honestly was kind of weird because the candidates were obviously supported by one party or the other, but it was considered nonpartisan.
Sure.
But that's
Right.
that's not the way it works. The R's and D's are on there, and it's an R by Megan Shanahan's name, and she's running against an incumbent, Michael Donnelly, who is a current member of the Ohio Supreme Court. There are 7 of them, and this is very important. There are 3 Ohio Supreme Court seats on the statewide ballot this fall, and there is a balance of power involved. Right now, there are 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats. Well, the math is easy, even for
Yeah,
me. 3
sure.
seats on the line. It could sway to the Democrats if 2 of those seats go their way, or all 3, of course.
So the state Supreme Court is not like the federal Supreme Court where you're on and then it never ends.
You're on until you retire or you die.
Okay.
Right. So very important. And Larry Kidd, who was the host of the event yesterday, he hosted this at the Office Commons. He pointed this out, and so did Megan Shanahan. A case could be made that the election of a Ohio Supreme Court judge is as important, or maybe more important, than some of these others that are more high profile, because they're 6-year terms. And when you make a Supreme Court decision, it's kind of there. The only way it's going to get overruled is by a higher court or something like a constitutional amendment.
The vote of the people.
So
or something like
governors may come and go, Secretary of States may come and go, legislators may come and go. But even though there are 6-year terms, it's not for life like the U.S. Supreme Court. These decisions, whether made by a single judge or a majority on that court, are very, very important. That was one of the points, that she made. But she said that just like Republicans generally are when they run for the state Supreme Court, and for that matter, when they get appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court, She is what they call a strict constructionist, meaning that she believes that Supreme Court justices should just interpret the law and not make activist decisions that kind of make the law. And, there's arguments on both sides on that, but that is one philosophy that seems to divide Democrat candidates from Republican candidates.
Okay.
So anyway, she made her pitch there.
Interesting.
She's been the judge of the Hamilton County Common Pleas Court, or one of the judges. There are multiple ones in Hamilton County, as it's a big county, since 2015. And she did talk a little bit about her background. She comes from a family of modest means. Her mother had to work to get the family, through their school and into adulthood. She went into law school, and she didn't really want to be a criminal attorney. She wanted to do private law, but there was an opportunity involved. She ended up being a prosecutor in Butler County, and that has led all the way to her now running for the Ohio Supreme Court. So once again, 3 races onto the Ohio Supreme Court on the ballot in the November 5 general election. If you care, and you should, look into those candidates, educate yourself, and decide who you want to vote for. Maybe you'll cross party lines even. But, there's a lot of campaign information out there. And what we will do is, we're a local paper, not a state paper. But if a candidate comes here and they're running for state office or even district office, we'll try to cover them, give them credit for being here, and we'll tell you what they say and what they would do if they got elected.
Okay.
So look to that story on Megan Shanahan in our next edition of the paper. Speaking of a big deal and important people coming to Jackson, last week, have you ever heard of the name? Make sure I say his name right because he's important. Troy Grundwin. Do you know who Troy Grundwin is?
No, but I probably should, huh?
Well,
I'm fixing to find out, aren't I?
Yes. Okay. No, he's not running for anything, so he doesn't need your vote. But he's important. He is the president of Her Foods out of Pennsylvania. And he was here in person to see the
Very
progress
cool.
out at the Her Foods plant, the future Her Foods plant at the former Meridian plant site. Here is Troy. He is right in the middle there in the maroon shirt, third from the left, third from the right, along with some other local folks who we'll identify in a minute. But remember, they announced back in May, the big Her Foods project. They're going to convert a big old warehouse out there at the former Meridian site into a production facility, and we're all going to have orange fingers because they're going to do cheese curls.
Well, let me just tell you, they're good.
They are. I have to say, they're kind of intoxicating a little bit. There's always room for one more, and they seem a little lighter than some other snacks.
You're right. So the funny thing was, our good friend Sam Brady, there, head of economic development here in our area, challenged Jamie and I to a Hers food.
I saw where you did that. That was neat.
He was like, "I'll bet you guys can't make a sandwich with some cheese curls." And so, of course, what did we do? We made a sandwich with cheese curls. But my problem was I couldn't keep the staff out of the cheese curls. So we were all running around with orange fingers that morning, but it was a lot of fun and a delicious sandwich nonetheless.
Yes, I can imagine. I wish I would have tried that because I like the cheese curl. So ergo, why not a sandwich?
Exactly.
And, would take your creative cuisine folks in the kitchen to come up with something. But on the Her Foods plant, just the skinny on that, if you haven't remembered, when they get the production facility done, and they've got a lot of renovation and conversion work to do with that building. They're not adding to the building. They're not building a new building yet, but they are going to have. They're going to make that building into a cheese curl factory, basically.
Right.
And so a lot of work to do, exterior and especially interior. They have started that work. That building sits off the highway a little bit, so you might not notice, but there's a lot of work that's being done there.
Yep.
And it will continue into next year. They still hope to start production next summer.
Okay.
And that will create 75 jobs, and they hope that there will be more on down the line. And they were very clear about it when they made their announcement in May. If things work out, underscored, if things work out, they're going to expand on that property there. And
That's
there's going
right.
to be more production and more jobs.
Yep.
So keep our fingers crossed and hope that happens. But we wanted to let you know that it is still on track,
Yes.
the Her Foods project in Jackson. And the other folks that were in that picture that were there to meet him, of course, you talked about Sam Brady. Mayor Randy Evans was there. Kevin McCorkle, he's on the left. He's a very important fella. You may not know his name either, but he's the manager of the Chillicothe plant where Her Foods already is. And
Okay.
he is kind of overseeing
Awesome.
the Jackson project as well. And then over there, you also, in addition to Sam, you have Gloria Baluvit, who is with Ohio Southeast
Yes.
project. She is a project
cool.
manager involved in a lot of the projects in this area. All right. I went to one of my favorite community events last Saturday. And so I'm going to tell you about it because it was so much fun and you see so many people there. It was the Limerick Bean Dinner.
Oh my gosh.
Have you
cool.
been there before?
When I was little, I used to go all the time with
Okay.
grandmother and Uncle Lewis.
Well, they had this last Saturday, and we did have some pictorial coverage in our Wednesday paper. And I tell you, it's just, you turn the clock back when you go there.
Yes.
First of all, you're going out into the country.
Yep.
And in this pastoral scene, and there is this white clapboard building that's been there forever. It kind of looks like a church, but it's a Grange Hall.
Yep.
And I believe, Dylan, we have some pictures that we can put up there to
The big city
to kind of
people.
show you what this is like. This is the interior of the Grange Hall where they had a huge Chinese auction. They
Yep.
had a lot. That was the fundraiser part of the event.
You know, there's a lot of people, Peter, saying, a Grange? What is that?
Well, there used to be scads of
Yes.
Granges all over this country, including in Jackson County. The Limerick Grange is still there. I'm not sure if we have any others. That's the famous bean pot back there.
Yes.
And John Wood, who has the stir in his hand there, got up very early to do 60 pounds of white beans, 60 pounds of brown beans. And let me tell you, I was there in the middle of the serving time, about 1:30, 12 to 3, and they were going to be gone before the end of 3 o'clock. I can tell you that.
Are you a white bean or a brown bean
I'm
person?
definitely a white bean person.
Okay.
A white bean person. They had diced ham in there. They tasted great. Everybody will testify that Limerick beans, if not the best, they're very close
They're
to
very
the best.
good.
And so, and as you can see, this is the picnic area where
Wow.
they spread out tables. You can see you're not going to see very many empty seats there. They're in the big Grange yard next to the Grange Hall. But in addition to the beans, they had some sandwiches. They had quite an array of pies and cakes and desserts and whatever. Now, I know you're in the restaurant business and you're a businesswoman, and you got to make sure that you at least break even. I know you got to do better than that.
Yep.
But they were selling pieces of pie for $2 each. Now,
Well,
where are you going to find that?
they have bumped their heads,
Okay.
as Carmen would say.
Well, the key is they didn't have to hire anybody to do it or
That's
serve it because they're all volunteers, of
Yes.
course. But
no, that is amazing.
right, we had blackberry pie and coconut cream pie. And if I had more room on my back seat, I would have taken more. But took
Heck
some beans
yeah.
too. But those pictures that Dylan said, oh, look who showed
John
up.
Hensler.
Commissioner John Hensler showed up, of course, with kids and provided me a photo because there's always an election coming up. But as you can see, John's two daughters, Ellison, John's oldest daughter, Ellison, and his oldest son, Emmett, are there with him enjoying Limerick beans. And let me tell you, all the way back, maybe not so much now, but in the past, when we had more local elections, it seemed like more people running for local office.
Beans and noodles,
It was
man.
it was a rite of passage. If you were a candidate, you had to go to the Limerick Bean Dinner. And if you were really industrious and looking for credit from that rural population, you washed the dishes.
Oh, yes.
Right. So anyway, real quickly, we're running out of time. We want to tell you that down on Cozy Glen Road, which is right out of Oak Hill, they have had to close that road for at least part of the day due to a culvert replacement project. It was supposed to have been done yesterday, but due to unforeseen circumstances, according to the engineer's office, they had to shut that project down in the over the overnight period, and they're going to hopefully finish it today. But you may not be able to get through in the 1.2 mile section between Jim Reese Road and Hickory Grove Road on Cozy Glen Road. So that is near Oak Hill. Also, do not forget that State Route 93, this affects a lot of motorists potentially, and shoppers and residents and commuters.
Yes.
State Route 93 near McCarty Lane, that's out there near Walmart, is going to be closed part of today. It was supposed to be closed at 4 a.m. I didn't go out to see if they were there at 4.
I know. I didn't.
I wasn't there, but it's supposed to be 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. closure, but you're not going to get through on State Route 93. So if you're a local, you need
Figure it out.
You need to work around it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, and the same thing from the city. We went on another advisory, hydrant replacement work taking place on the Chillicothe Pike in and just outside the city. So if you're in the area of Chillicothe Pike, Price's Ridge Road, Simpson Road, in that area, because of hydrant replacement work, you're probably going to have maybe some brown water there. I don't think you'll have a service disruption, but you could have some brown water because of the hydrant replacement work. As a matter of fact, CLA, which is on Chillicothe Pike, closed today because of that, because of the water situation.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Also, the Hope Methodist Church up in Wellston. Remember, twice a month they do the free meal. That's amazing that they do that, but they do it twice a month.
Yeah.
Today is a free lunch day. That will
Okay.
be from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. And how's this sound? Taco salad, chips, tomato, cheese, lettuce, plus dessert. Once again, they're trumping you on price. It's free.
Oh, man.
How do they do that?
I don't know.
Because they're good folks and
That's
they
right.
donate everything. So bless their hearts.
You got it.
Also, the Oak Hill Union Local Board of Education is meeting today at 4:30 p.m. They always meet once a month, but this meeting is 1 hour earlier than usual. So if you have an interest in that, it'll start at 4:30 instead of 5:30. And we have to tell you that the football preview is out today as promised.
Look
And
at
let me tell
that.
you what, I hung around last night till the papers came, always holding my breath because we put so much work into this and there's a lot of color. It came out wonderfully, I'll have to say.
Good
so
deal.
we thank everybody from the writers to the paginators to the editors to the ad salesmen to the people that circulated it and to our printers in Athens. It looks great. But in this special edition, previews of our 4 local football teams, the Jackson Ironmen, the Wellston Golden Rockets, the Oak Hill Oaks, and the Vinton County Vikings, and pictures of our cheerleaders and our bands from those 4 schools.
That.
Todd Compston, who is the sports editor of the Telegram, he was just one of many to work on this, but he was the main architect of this, did some very good work and got this thing done on time, and that's not easy to do. He already has his nose to the grindstone along with all his helpers doing the fall sports preview, which will be out in Saturday's edition. So
Very cool.
So a lot of stuff going on, but by all means, this is this is the complete B section of our paper. We also have 12 pages of other news.
That's
so
right.
We're
Pick
kind
it
of
up.
loaded. 24 pages in
got
today's
it.
paper.
And don't forget, if you have not subscribed to the Telegram, please do so. You can do it any number of ways. You can do it online. You can come in here. You can, anyway. And then you can get the digital copy or the paper copy or both.
Right, absolutely. You don't have to pick up a paper copy. We've got it online for our digital subscribers, and so that's another way to get it. And if you're a print subscriber, the digital part comes with that automatically.
That's right.
Okay.
Very, very cool stuff.
And may I say, competitively priced.
Yes, it is. For sure. Can't beat it. All right. Well, have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have the opportunity to get out and about today, boy, would this be a good one to do it. If you have any yard work, just want to take a walk with the family, please get out and do so. But thank you so much, and we will see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.